Shut this down. Playing games. What we doing? Are we live? Are we live?
No.
Yeah, say live. It's counting. It's counting up right now. It's supposed to go.
The doors of the Love Church are now open. Dear world, you name it, we cover it from the world of singles to the behind the scenes of the greatest movie ever filmed, called Marriage. We dig into everything from dating 101. Why won't they commit? It's complicated. I can't do it if it's the three of us. They're a good person, but I'm not attracted to them in that way. 2, they really didn't disclose who they were before I said I do. How do I do this if they can't keep a job? The bills are paid, but the bedroom is suffering. Did I marry you or did I marry your family because we only can take care of us? Let's open up our marriage. Why do I have to buy into your beard gang illusion? You could have told me you were down low and we could have remained friends and not married. And last but not least, did you marry me or your pastor? Have we gotten your attention yet? If so, tune in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, if you want to hear more of today's real issues in the world of love. The doors of the Love Church are now open.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. I'm your host, Charles Dixon, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Adam Ford. How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Ooh, all right, like something all boisterous and loud and ghetto. It's like, dang, all right, I mean, geez. I'm fine. I'm like, dang, okay. Anyway.
Oh my God, man.
All right. So listen, folks, we wanted to say last week we had this particular title that we're talking about, that we're going to talk about today, slated. But we got caught up in the Chronicles and we went down a whole nother path. So what I'm going to do this week, we're going to jump right on into it. But, okay, just 2 minutes. I'll give you 2 minutes of a quick update on the Chronicles. I mean, you keep me honest, Adam. We're going to cut off and keep it moving. All right. Number 1, the girl is gone.
Is she? She gone? She left?
So that's the first thing I asked him when I sat down with him, and he said, he was like, but here's the funny part, because, he was acting real, like, I will say his energy was kind of better than expected. I didn't think he was going to be against the wall, crying, sad. His energy was real level. So I'm like, okay, that's good. And I got to kind of throw in there to him about telling him about these kind of opportunities throughout the summer where he could probably do some entry level work stuff in our industry. Okay. You know what we do. So I was telling him they had some roles that he could probably do. And I said, I could fast track you and teach you some of it to help you get through. He was like, oh, for sure. So I was glad that he was even open to that part of it. Okay. Then, let's away from that, back to this real funny part. So so mind you, here I am asking him, I'm just generally saying, I said, so you good? Did you move? You transition? He said, yeah, she left last week. Then he said, he'd been staying at his friend's house for the past week. And I said, I know it's an adjustment to you coming from staying with somebody and now you over here. And he said, yeah, it is. So mind you, I had no idea all this time I'm talking to him. Then I asked him this. I said, so how is your girl? Is she all right? It's a transition for her too. Oh yeah, she good. Yeah, she on the phone now. I'm talking to her now. And I'm like, huh? So he was actually, he had his ear thing in. Look, I promise you, he spoke to her the whole haircut. What? She was in his ear. Like, even when he was being quiet, like cutting my hair and talking to me, she just sitting there. So when this was, I thought was so funny. Yeah, he never did this even when she was here. Tell you what he did. He said, well, after I asked about her, he said, yeah, baby, you hear that? You hear that, baby? Yeah, my client's asking about you. He just wanted to make sure you a baby girl made it. He putting all the extra mustard. I ain't asked for all that reason. He was just saying he's trying to throw in all the brownie points he get it. And before we get into the show, then he had nerve to say this mid haircut. She on the phone, listening. And then I said, oh, not the advance notice. Here you go. Yeah, babe, just letting you know, next week, I'm going out for Terry's birthday. Yeah, he said wants some of the fellas to go out with him for some drinks or whatever. So I'm just letting you know. I said, I turned around. I get so now you pulling out all the stuff.
Oh my God!
Notice, but you know what I took that as? See, if a man does that in that kind of environment, Adam, he's trying to make a plea to be like, I'm going to show you what I want you to do. Please don't turn this around and be down there acting a fool and not communicating with me. Other than that, he wasn't there, nothing. But he's concerned about her moving around once this whole we separated thing starts to dissipate. Because right now, this is expected. He probably been on the phone with her all week, every night, all night, because it's new. But after the life starts happening and reality sits in, that's when the real test going to come into play. All right. Now,
let me just say this real quick. I'm just going to say this. This is the problem with having a soul tie that is not reciprocal at all. Yeah. This is the problem. No, you giving all you got on your end. You doing right on your end. You in love. Want to stay in love. But the other person could care less.
Yeah, because he was trying to do everything he could to keep her engaged. He even said, because from their hometown where they from, he on the phone, he was like, yeah, babe, when you get a chance, the next time you go down such and such highway, I want you to see if such and such barbershop is still there, because I want to see if my man still worked there. Then he said, oh, I got to get my barber's license renewed, so I need you to go downtown tomorrow. I give you the money to pay for my fee. And I said, oh, he's trying to keep her engaged as much as poor boy. I was like, godly boy. But anyway, that was funny. It wasn't too much today. He was lighthearted. I mean, I think he felt good because she was on that phone with him. Okay. So I think he ain't got, he's not, even though he's physically separated, mentally he played the game of her being there.
Yeah. All right. Is she supposed to be coming back? I know I'm asking questions.
He ain't say nothing about it. I ain't ask him. I'm gonna say that for a later time, but I didn't ask him. He didn't say nothing about I can't wait till she come back or after the summer. He just we'll see. I don't know if he's just feeling his way through this to see how it turns out, or he's just in denial with everything. So yeah. All right.
Ooh, Lord.
All right, people. Today we were supposed to talk about last week, Mr. Adam. And don't throw stones at the screen. We promise, just listen to how we unpack it first.
Deanna said she's not coming back.
I know Deanna. She probably like, so to be honest, it's kind of some murky waters around that whole separation bit of her even leaving. It really didn't make, I guess the part that didn't make sense to me was, it's one thing for somebody to say this is not working, and I know our lease is up until this, but I'm gonna go ahead on a move and whatever we need to do. But to strategically separate supposedly at the end of the lease, it's just, I'm like, if it was a struggle, you could have went to a cheap apartment or something else, but to just go home, that doesn't feel like a holler at you.
It feels like a signal. It feels like
a vibe. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So today we are talking about the utility called Her. Is your account active, Adam, or disconnected? Now, when I say utility, first thing comes to your mind. We pay utilities every month. Right. Yeah. But here's the kicker. Here's the argument of this. First things first, I want y'all to know this is not about necessarily money. Because I know all over the internet, that's the narrative. The women nowadays want this, that, and the other. We're just talking about maintenance of a woman. And maintenance of a woman is more to it than money. Right. To keep a woman, it's a lot. So let alone so you can about imagine what happens if you just, I don't know, I don't know, Adam, in my days of being wayward. I don't know how you're able to be wayward and think you can have a relationship because you're not able to take care of those things we don't think about that, but when we are moving about to and fro, there's something missing. So when you get into the weeds of the maintenance of a woman, you really only got time for one after it's all over, unless you don't care. Now, if you don't care, you run a month. But if you care, you only have time for one month. Okay.
You only should have one.
So, perfect example. At home, Adam, pay the water bill, electric bill, if you got electric and gas, you got your sewer, water, sewer, and trash, and other little things. Those like primary bills. And then we have the big one. You have, I wouldn't consider that necessarily the utility, the mortgage. That's kind of like a given. But those other things are the things that run the house.
Okay.
Like the house is the relationship, right? That's the house. Those things that you pay monthly are the things. Let's just say, for instance, we say the electric bill. She say the quality time bill, right? Okay. We say the gas bill. She say the intentional date bill, right? We say, you get where I'm going with this. So it's like, so there are things that if we think about it, we have to ask ourselves, just like with our regular bill. Mm-hmm. Now, it may not, utilities have gotten a little different nowadays. Once upon a time, Adam, we can get a bill from last month and pay it a month later, right? And be like, yeah, I'll pay it and just pay the late fee and call it a day. Nowadays, some of these utility companies, when that bill comes, you got a couple of days and they coming for you, right? Or if you don't pay them, or call and make an arrangement, which in the relational standpoint, communicate what's happening, right? Mm-hmm. So you think about this like this, it makes you really think about it like, man, it's like, if we look at it from the standpoint of these utilities that in a relationship, we as men are to pay to our person, right? And you got to ask yourself, it's a way that when you look at it like that, you say, man, you know, with these different utilities, quality time, dating, intentional this, am I being supportive? Am I in the right position to uphold their emotional well-being? If depending on the situation, intimacy, if that's your thing, right? Whatever. Am I doing this to support this in the right way? Am I making them? Am I behind on the bill of security? Do I make them feel safe? You know what I'm saying? Or do they feel like I don't feel like you're engaged or you're here? You feel like you're not present. So those are the things we got to think about. Now, Adam, on the tricky side of all of those beautiful things and bills that I just brought to the forefront, here's the kicker. When we sign up for services, right? Okay. Depending on your background, listen, let's just say I go to be like, hey, I'm trying to sign up for service of getting to know you in this relationship and moving forward. And they'll say, okay, so tell me about yourself. What's your deal? What was your last relationship? And let's just say I roll off, well, this is what happened to me, and this kind of relationship, it didn't work out, whatever the case. Then the person says, well, sir, you're going to have to pay a deposit. that means I'm going to need to watch you really closely these first 30 days, right? So you're not going to get the normal trust allotted to people because you're coming in kind of as kind of sketchy client, right? Okay, fine. Right. Then you got the situations where the person come in the door and you're so love bombed and so overwhelmed with their entry point that you think they got good credit, good love credit, and you just kind of let them go sign up without any deposit. Right. So where I'm going with this is when you start your utilities, you don't, aside from the deposit, you don't start paying until after services. Okay. So this to me spells out a reciprocal cycle that happens. So it's not like we just getting utilities and the light's not on, but then at the end of the month, we got a bill that we pay. or the stove didn't work, or the water never worked, but then they're expecting pay, right? So if you look at all of these utilities of her from this perspective, look at Bruce said, I'm making prepay. If you look at it from this perspective, how do we balance that? Like, so I wonder, like, so that's saying to me, if they're saying we need a service, so us men, what do we view as a service to kind of offset the quality time, the emotional well-being, the security, the intimacy, the all those things, just like kind acts of service, whatever those things are, right? Those things that are maintenance of a woman. I mean, these are things. I mean, I know women like to know, probably at the top of the list. Most women want to know. You may not. I mean, I know in fairy tale land they want you to be like Richard Gere and Pretty Woman. Pull up in the DeLorean and stand up in the sunroof with roses and say, "It's your day, baby. I found you on Facebook and it's me and you, and that's it." We would all love that. However, you got all sorts of levels of men and all sorts of levels of income, so that differs, right? But we say to ourselves, here come these situations, but what are we really offering by way of service back and forth to you? And we're not even talking about, again, this ain't about sex or nothing like that. But we know women like to know that the finances are good. They may not say it all the time, but this generation is saying it. But nonetheless, the older generation, they may not say it, but it's unspoken that they want to feel that they're with someone who's not going to put them in the poorhouse. You understand what I'm saying? And when I say poorhouse, meaning, you know how somebody will say, well, baby, I love you and I'm a hardworking man. And somebody will say, but love alone does not pay the bills. Don't pay the bills. So you at least got to come to the table with something that could make the world go round in the relationship. And so I'm saying that to say, let's try to today as men, Bruce, you got to help us, Bruce. We got to identify, if we paying these bills, where is the service? There's no such thing as a utility. There's no such thing as paying a utility of any kind without first having been extended a service. So you got to figure out what are those reasonable, let's just say reasonable services. You
about to get in a lot of trouble. I can see that. Listen to Charles. So here's the thing, though, right? So in your question to the brothers, you also really should be asking the women, what is the service? And again, we're not talking about sex. That's the thing. We're talking about what services are being offered now.
Come on.
No. Having said that, I just want to kind of go back and kind of like, so I make sure that I understand where you're coming from. So when it comes to like utilities, when I'm thinking about when I got an apartment, it was funny. So one of the things that happened, particularly when it came to getting your electric bill and your gas bill or your water bill or wherever you were, one of the things, of course, you had to, apply for it. But they would, at the time when I was renting an apartment, I had to get a credit check. And my credit history directly impacted the fact whether or not, if I had to pay a deposit, and if I did have to pay a deposit, how much of a deposit did I have to pay based on my history? Because if your history reflects that you are a late payer or you are a defaulting payer, that means your deposit is going to be a whole lot more than another person who actually does pay on time. See what I'm saying? So if my credit history reflects the fact that I am not a good payer, that I do not pay on time, and I often default on my payments, or rather, I make arrangements that I don't honor, then when that company looks at my credit history in terms of my payment ability, they be like, well, this guy is risky.
Ooh.
You know, he's risky because he's not paying on time. He's defaulting on his payment arrangements. So that means we have to request a higher deposit from him based on his history or their history to be able to pay whatever this bill is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not rocket science. It's not. If you have a history as a person who wants to be in a relationship of not spending time with your person, if you have a history of being in a relationship where you don't talk to your person, if you have a history of not being faithful to your partner, what makes you think the next person that comes down the line is going to be like, hey, you know what? Come on in. It's cool. You're free. Do what you want to do. No. You are a risk. And if I take a chance on you, there's more likelihood that you're going to mess up what we have. Based on
what I have.
History. Based on your history.
Yeah.
That's what this is about, right? Yeah. This is the reason why we have conversations when we first start dating each other, because we're trying to figure out whether this person is going to hurt me or is this person going to help me. And this is all based on that person's history. So if you have a history of paying your bills, not just on time, but before they're actually due, you're less likely to have to make a deposit.
Wow.
Because of the fact that you are showing a degree of faithfulness that this particular person is looking for. But again, if you are one of those people who make payment arrangements and you don't honor your payment arrangement, or you have a bill, you get a bill, and you let it get disconnected. Listen, y'all, this stuff is reflected in your history. Yeah. And it's one of the things that determine your credit rating.
You're right.
So if I look at your credit rating and I'm able to tell, oh, he missed this electric bill payment, he missed this water bill payment, this got disconnected. Guess what? We good. we don't even worry about this. You know, don't. Yeah. It's not good. So you got. But here's the thing, though, Charles. Here's the thing. I want us to talk about this part of it. So when you apply for whatever utility that you want, whether it's internet, whether it's water bill, electric bill, you yourself know your own payment history.
Yeah.
You already know whether or not if you're going to pay it on time or if you're going to wait till the last minute to pay it.
Yeah.
The company does not know that.
Yeah.
But you know that.
Yeah.
So why not just be honest from the get-go? Why we got to play this game of guess what I'm about to do today? Why we got to play that game?
But here's the thing. We don't have that affordability with who signs up with a utility company and be like, yeah, I'm calling. Like, can I help you, sir? Yeah, I'm calling to establish my electricity. But before you say anything else, my last company sent me a collection letter. So when we don't have that. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't say that, but look, you might mess around and talk yourself out of service. But nonetheless, so here's the back part of it. What you said is spot on. But then look at it this way. Whether or not people know their history, if they have to live, they got to live. Like, if wherever they move, second chance credit apartments, wherever, they got to live and establish. So I'm saying that to say, irregardless of people's history, they still want love.
No. That's not in dispute. Yeah. What I'm questioning is our ability to be honest about our history.
Yeah.
That's what I'm questioning. I'm questioning because you already know when you fill out that application for that car,
you
know what your credit look like.
For sure.
You know how much of a deposit you're going to have to put down. And you know, but based on your credit, what your interest rate is going to be.
Wow.
You know this. So when you walk into a relationship, into a dating situation, you're going to sit here and try to fake like you're the most faithful person in the world. You're gonna act like you ain't never stepped out. You're gonna act like you're gonna make a time with your person a priority when in fact your history reflects otherwise. How is it that we can't be honest when we first meet each other? Now again, I'm not saying that everybody doesn't want companionship, because we do want companionship, but to the point of hiding who you actually are. And this is what we're doing, right? This is what. Listen. I'm not saying that your credit cannot be rehabilitated. You can absolutely be rehabilitated. Your history does not have to determine your future. You can change. But the question is, will you change? That's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Somebody's taking all of this off of the utility.
No. What? Utilities. This is straight utility. Don't even get it twisted. This is all about the utility.
It really is. Okay. But I guess the argument I'm making is it's not like there is a clear cut line that stops people from, like, okay, perfect example. Like you said, if you got bad credit, higher deposit, but we still going to give you service.
Right.
If you got good credit, no deposit, you get your service. So what I'm saying is there is no way around service. Either way, if you got money or whatever, we all know how this works. It's like they got a whole new life of credit in second chance lane.
Yeah.
Remember back in Virginia, Eastern Motors, them places, they got all the bad cars for people that's willing to pay the money, right? Yeah. If you want to pay $5,000 down, come down here and get this Benz truck or whatever you're going to do. But the point is, and so what I'm saying is, either way we slice it, toxic couple, single, toxic person finding somebody, either way you're going to be extended utilities. If you want to have your power on in your relationship. If you want to turn on the power in the relationship, you got to sign up for your utilities. And whatever your background is, it's going to come up. And that's why you got to approach the relationship the way you do. If you know you sketchy or have been sketchy, 9 times out of 10, if your person is not so goo-goo-eyed that they can't see the truth, they're going to treat you accordingly. They'll be with you, but they're going to be skeptic with you. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of skepticism. They like you, but they're skeptic because they realize, I like them, but they come with some baggage and probably done this and then that. So let me be careful, but I like them. You know what I'm saying? So either way, you're going to have to walk that walk. And so I guess what I'm saying is, all I was saying is, what does that exchange look like from the woman? And perfect example. This is what I'm going to just throw one out there. So if we're doing the quality time, if we're doing all of these things that, that make the world go round in relationships to make the person feel accepted and acknowledged, right? Mm-hmm. If you're doing all these things. So here's the thing. How is the attitude? Okay. We're talking service, right? Yes. How do you make the man feel? Like there's a reason men come home. They come home and not sit in their cars because they enjoy the feeling that person, the energy that person brings them. Okay. It doesn't have to be a thing where you almost avoid them because you don't like the energy, right? So you got that part. Then you have the, are you affirming him? Men are visual, but they're far more audible. They are about what they hear. So my point is, if you want to see a man in action, say some methodical words to him, and you will see him unravel. The problem is, we used to you ain't nothing, you old nigga, you just sorry, you weak, all that doesn't do anything but immobilize and neutralize a man's actions towards you. Okay. But if you plant them seeds at his feet, you will see a man be like, wow, I just told him he was I believe in him. Okay, honey. And you see him begin to show up for you because he's getting a great service from his woman. And we're not even talking about.
Right, we're not talking about it.
But anyway, so those things are all important in service. There, it's all service. So my point is, we as men and women, I think we fight the way we do today because there is an imbalance in servicing and utility paying. There's an imbalance happening there. It's like we're fussing with. It's almost like people that you call every month, your friends, and they always will tell you, "Give me a minute, I'm on the phone cussing cussing Verizon out." It's always somebody disgruntled with the provider because they feel like they didn't get the good service. So my point is, we have to say to ourselves, what am I extending this person by way of utility services? And what is he giving me? What is he paying me? How is he paying me with himself? Which way is he showing up in my life that I can say he's really paying me? This man is doing a wonderful job. And again, this has nothing to do with money yet. We're talking about just of himself. How is he showing up? And if we're honest, sometimes we show up sketchy. I'm gonna tell you why we show up sketchy. The reason why we, as men, a lot of times show up sketchy because we're only measuring our show up against ourselves. See, you're not going to know what that looks like unless you're talking to another man and y'all having discussion and you be like, "Yeah, I did this." You did what? Oh man, that's kind of whack. Now I don't know. You need to kind of measure how you looking, right? Because if you're just going by what you think is right and the time that you think you should put in, or quality time, or compliments and trips, or whatever it is that you do with your lady, and if you're only measuring it off of yourself, you can get it wrong. Because I can almost guarantee you, what we call a happy woman, and if we think we making them happy, you better dial that back to 1/4, right? Because you'll be surprised what you call happy and what they discuss with their circle is two different things, right? So it's like, now we're not trying to make a miracle here. We can't come into somebody's life and just create happiness, so to speak. But what we can do is influence it. We can influence it by contributing little things, things that we think that will play well in the situation to make the person feel appreciated. So like I said, this comes down to, if we're looking at the women as the utility providers that are offering this service to their man. So again, the utility service, remember, they have the power to disconnect service. So really, it's on us to lead the way and make sure we're being responsible with them. Because at the end of the day, where we don't go right with them, they will then say, "Oh, well, Mr. So-and-so, we really tried with you, but we're sorry. Unless you can pay this today, your service is going to be off at 5 o'clock. Sorry."
Right.
So that's where women are with how they feel like they're not being treated. And so, I don't know if you've been in those rooms, Adam, but I've been in those rooms, Adam, where you hear the feedback and you get your report card for the utility provider and you don't want to open up the envelope. You'd be like, "Is this another red envelope?" Anyway, so at some point you learn, and you try to learn, Adam. But all I'm saying is, it made a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, here we are expected to pay and do these things. But how many of us are really receiving a fair reciprocation?
Or the actual service.
Yeah, because if you be honest, here's where I think we get it wrong. Utility people, when they approve you for service, and they approve, so in the relationship world, I'm approving you to date me, marry me, be with me, whatever that case is. So now I'm providing myself as a service to you because you signed up for me, you got it, right? You paid the dividends or you had the credit to get me. So you got me. So now on the other side of it, we got to say to ourselves, as we are doing this service, utility companies don't hold contingencies over your head. Once they approve you and they say, when would you like this service to go on? Tomorrow on the 6th, I want to start dating you. Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow for dinner. They don't just say, they don't approve you for your service and say, now I'll meet you but you got to show me this first. I'm like, no, I signed up. I already signed up. The service is done. But see, what we're doing nowadays, we're holding the I guess if they're the utility holders, we are the client. I guess you would call us like the clients, I guess. Or when I was happy, they would call us the clients. So the point is, yeah, customers. So what's happening in the dating world now, a lot of women are holding contingencies over the customer's head. You're holding services based off contingencies. If you do this, I'll do that. But if you don't, I don't know. I need to see more of that. But my point is, before we get to contingencies, we got to deal with the service contract. Okay. We signed up a service contract as your customer. You told me you will provide this service. This has nothing to do with contingencies at this point. Okay. And so I think we need to work through that and figure out where we are going wrong with this whole service thing, Okay.
So I got a couple of things, and I was just thinking about actually some really good points that you just made. So I think I want to say it was okay. So since I've been home, and I'm just using my life as an example, just in terms of the service thing, and I'll make it relate to the whole relationship thing when I get to the end of this. So, okay. So since I've been home, working from home, whatever like that, I've had to upgrade my internet service to broaden the bandwidth so that I can get a lot more responsiveness out of my internet connection because I'm working from home, whatever like that. You may have to do that too, which means you have to upgrade your package to a different tier in terms of what the internet service provider is giving you. And so before that, I was actually using a router that I had bought off of Amazon.
Yeah,
and the router worked fine, for the most part. But when I started to need more bandwidth in my Wi-Fi, I started having connection issues. And I can't have that while I'm working at home. I can't have connection issues. Yeah. So I needed to actually upgrade and actually use the company's manufactured Wi-Fi router in order to get a consistent signal each and every time. Otherwise, I was getting Wi-Fi spotty. I'm using extenders, but again, if that router is not pushing out that bandwidth in a strong, amplified way, my connection is going to be spotty, especially if you're a ways away from the actual router. If you're not hardline into the router, your connection is going to be spotty. Even if it's on strong Wi-Fi, it's going to be spotty. But once I got the manufacturer's router, and I got it in the house, got it set up, everything has been fine.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I had to do, Charles, in order to get there. I had to actually talk to the service provider.
Yeah.
I had to actually engage them and let them know I'm having a problem. Otherwise, they'll never know that I'm having a problem. Otherwise, they'll assume everything is okay.
Yeah.
What am I saying? I'm saying this. I think sometimes we operate off of assumptions that if it ain't broke, then we don't need to fix it. Well, that's not necessarily always true.
Yeah.
Just because it ain't broke don't mean that it's working the way that it's supposed to be working.
Right.
And if I don't say something is not working, for example, if my electricity doesn't work, then I need to engage the electric company. If my water is not working, then that means I need to engage the water company. What I'm trying to say is, are you engaging the service provider? Are you saying to him or to her, you know what, this particular thing that you're doing isn't necessarily helpful. Maybe we could change this to something else. Maybe we could do something different. Sometimes I think we're under the assumption that they know what we're thinking.
Yeah.
When in fact, they don't have a clue. They think everything's okay. They keep serving you okra every single day, and you keep eating it like it's okay. And you hate okra, but you won't open up your mouth to say that you hate okra, but you eat it every day. But you're disappointed and frustrated with the fact that you have to eat okra, but you won't open up your mouth to say anything. I'm saying this. In your service provider contract, there is a place where you can actually say, hey, I'm not satisfied with this particular service. Customer satisfaction, if you're in a relationship, should be priority number one.
Yeah.
But if you're a service provider and you never question your customer, how do you know that they're not happy with what you're giving them? You won't know. And I know all of us, when it comes to different services or whatever like that, particularly if you have to call somebody and make an arrangement for something and you get off the line and then they'll call back or they'll send you an email or send you a text to say, we need you to fill out the survey so we can know how we did so that we can better improve our service. But if you never fill out that survey, then they'll never be able to improve that service and they'll never know that you need something different from what you've already been receiving from the whole time.
Yeah. What I heard in that story, I'll twist it. What I heard from what you
Here we go.
my version. First of all, on tonight, when you engage a service provider, let's stay with the same analogy of the internet. So if I were to paint that picture, the fact that the person went out and got an external router says I needed another type of woman. Hold on. Yeah, see, to get an external router, I'm not quite sure I trust all of her service options. So I'm going to get this side thing that I saw on Amazon that got all this caboose in the back that works really well with my environment, right? Okay. So listen, then you realize when you set it up, what's going on? I got the services and I plugged up this thing I bought, but something is wrong. It's wrong because it was never meant to play well with your network. Now, if you went into the service provider the right way on tonight, Adam, the service provider, when you call them, they're going to reject you because when you tell them I got problems, they're going to look at your account and say, you don't have our router.
Oh, yeah.
You have my router. I'm your woman. I'm your router, not the Amazon caboose. You get your information technology from me. So that is but see, that's a real life situation. True. A lot of people feel like they need to go and get an additional adaptation to something else.
Okay.
So it's like I got you, and I like the way this works. Think about it. We got people right now that have one carrier in their house and got another one. So you trust the service or you don't. Like you need one service unless something doesn't work for your area. You should just really have one service. Yeah. But the point is, we like to see if we can fit other things into our network. You know why? Because networks are so broad, you can hide them. See, I can get you in here and put you over there. You may add a little more bandwidth behind the scenes. Nobody don't know that you keep a smile on my face away from my main utility. See, here in Texas, look, they got it. You can have a field day because in Texas they have 1,000,001 electricity providers. Okay. Whereas when we come from DC, you have the Petco, you have the Baltimore PG&E. It's limited, but here, you can cheat up and down the scale. Well, I'm this week, I'm gonna go get you another one. So it's set up for like a monopoly. And so in our lives, we are not just dealing with our provider in that of our woman. Right. We're looking for these additional components to play with our network so that we can be happy within it. That's why before we get to that place, we got to say, brings me back full circle. This is why the two have to talk. The customer needs to convey their expectations of service because everybody on this live knows good and well if something ain't coming right with their service about electricity, water, or whatever, people just about cuss the provider out. Yeah. Rectified. So my point is, the customer in the man and the provider in the woman need to have those conversations to say, I'm prepared to pay this monthly with you to make sure Each month you're getting this throughout the month from me. But what services am I receiving? Because there's no such thing as paying without services.
Right.
There has to be an exchange. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'll even go as far as to say that, again, once I made the change over to the service providers manufactured router, service has been great. Now, here's my point in actually bringing that up and saying that. Now, the router that I had before was fine in terms of, doing regular stuff like watching TV or playing video games. But when it came down to something that was more demanding, that had to have more bandwidth, it was absolutely necessary that I upgrade in order to meet the demand of the job that I had to do. Sure. What am I saying? I'm saying this, that even though the router that I had gotten off of Amazon was cheaper, I had to upgrade to make a greater investment so that I could continue to do more than what I did before, which means I had to make a greater investment. I had to spend more money on it in order to make it work the way that it was supposed to work. This is what I'm trying to say, that if we want our relationships to work the way they're supposed to work in terms of receiving services and giving services, it requires more from you. And you can't be afraid of not giving the more that you should be giving, okay? You absolutely have to do more in order for it to be more. You want more, but you won't give more. You're expecting more, but you're not actually contributing to the more in order for the more to happen. You want more to happen by osmosis. No, more is not going to happen by osmosis. More is going to be something that you actually pay into in order to be able to receive it.
Now, Marlena took the words right out of my mouth. I was getting ready to say the providers nowadays, Adam, where you're right. When you're working at home, you got to get the equipment you need to get the job done. However, providers nowadays have gotten smart to keep their relationships intact. They don't want the customer going out and getting foreign objects that they know that are available to make things rig up. You know what companies are doing now? Perfect example. I call into AT&T. I need this because this bandwidth is this. You know what they said? Oh, no problem. How many extenders do you need? The same provider can offer projected equipment to help with what you have. We still don't have to go outside the circle. I'm reminded, Adam, back in the old church days, we had a song we sang called Everything You Need is in the House. So on tonight, between the customer and provider relationship, in most cases, everything we need is right there. When we choose to go out, sometimes there is a such thing as we get a little too ambitious. We want a little bit of something that we don't even necessarily need to have. We think we need it for functionality purposes, but we really the provider have what we need. We just need to, guess what? Pick up the phone, communicate, tap into the provider and say, do you offer this? Because I'm experiencing this, and I don't necessarily, I've been loyal to you guys for 5 years, but I do need this for my job. And I'm trying not to skip providers and go to Verizon. Right. We don't want to lose your business. Right. We honor our loyal customers. This is what we're willing to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? To make the situation fix.
I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Oh my God.
No, but seriously, listen, ladies, listen. All I'm asking, I'm not putting anybody on the spot. It could be Robbie, Dion. I'm looking in the comment, Marlena, Mona. This, all we're saying is this. From you all perspective, because we're men, we're not ladies. From you all's perspective, anyone that's listening, what do you guys think are services from your perspective that you offer to your customer as in your man? And we're not talking about money. We're talking about person to person upkeep. That's all I'm just saying. I'm just curious what women think, because we can say all day the things that we think, but they're the women and they know what it is they offer men and listen, more than that, because I bet you they can tell you what they expect. You know what I'm saying? Most of them will tell you in a minute what they expect from you, but we don't know what, how to look at what they're to offer us.
Right, what we're giving to them. That's all.
That's all. And I think that's how, if we can get to that point, this reminds me of at work. Whenever, if I were to start a new job or something, the first thing I would say when I'm having that conversation with that new manager or whomever, director, whatever, is all I ask is to prepare me to be set up for success.
Right.
So if you don't tell me what you're looking for in me and what you expect of me, right, and even a timeline of it, then you're preparing that new employee to fail, right? So in the business, in the case of a customer and provider situation, the provider on their site, they have the rules of thumb, right? They have the things they tolerate, the things they don't. Right. They have, if you're having a hardship, contact this department.
Right.
Communicate with the lady if you're having a hardship, right? If you need an arrangement to take me out next month instead of this week, I want to go out with you. I'm a little mad, but I understand if you talk to me about it and make the arrangement. I know it's been a long time. Listen, some people, before we haven't been intimate, let's have a talk. Let's talk about why the services are not working right. I'm going to say, somebody need to come out here and fix the thing in the ground. And maybe, But anyway, so stuff like that. Dig outside. You got to come outside and dig at them, and then your connection could be better. Things like that. So my point is, the bottom line is we have to talk about what's wrong and not assume. I think we've been doing too much assumptions. The women think that you just know what you need to do. And a lot of times, that's not lie. We do. But a lot of times, if you don't spell it out, if you don't lay it out, it don't get done. So the point is, you got to be able to talk back and forth. We got to be able to feel like we're getting something. Let's just be, I don't care. For years, I think men have had this rap of show up, father the children, pay everything, and sit down and just be a good man. And you got to understand, men need to be fueled to do all of this. They just don't do this because of osmosis. Good men just don't show up and be like, I'm a good man. I came down here to the church looking for a wife and I'm ready to treat her like heaven. You know what the word talks about, Adam? It's the goodness of God that turns your direction into repentance. Okay. You know how it talks about it? It does talk about it. It's in the Bible. It does. I'm going to show you. It talks about, honestly, it talks about it is the goodness of the Lord that basically brings a man to repentance. Okay. So basically, women know when we mess up, Adam. They know when you're thinking about messing up, when you think you're slick, when you're moving funny, and all of these things, women already have that intuitive gift to know. The thing is, a wise woman doesn't have to browbeat every action. She sits there and she watches. And you know what goes through a man's head? He knows, an intuitive man knows his woman knows that he's on some bull. The thing is, when women remain temporal and calm, what that does to a man, it guilts him to no end. And he says to himself, you know what? I'm out here bad. And I know she knows it. Right. I know she feels it. But funny enough, she ain't slapping me over the head with the frying pan. I feel a little odd about this, but I promise you, she a good lady for the way she's dealing with me. Okay. You know, she's not choosing to run me down and chase me down and arrest me. She's sitting back taking the wisdom route. Because truth be told, you can't control no man. I don't care what prison you put him in. Or a woman. People will find a way to be sneaky and slick if they want to. So the thing is, you have to allow people the space to do what they do. Give them the rope for themselves, right? And if it means something to you, sometimes it can get to a point where you can drop a nugget on somebody and be like, "Oh, you going out again with Charles? Oh yeah, I see you on Sunday. Okay." And sometimes she ain't said nothing but okay, but in your mind you're like, "Okay, I know she knows something that's funny." But in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, you know what? All this black ops life ain't worth it. Right. I just need to get myself together and reel it in while I have the grace to. Because when a woman's grace run out, then your service is going to be cut off. It don't matter about no payment arrangements. It's it. So the point is, we have to get that kind of relationship with each other that we understand how she moves, you moves, what she needs, what you need. Because contrary to what everybody, I say this over and over again, men need things to grow. Popeye needed spinach.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
He needed spinach to show up. Because other than that, he was average Joe Popeye. But when he had his spinach, he stood on his business, he handled his environment. Olive Oyl was always like, "Hey, Popeye." So it was good. So my point is, men need something. I promise you, it's an unspoken thing. It ain't like you got to pay him some money and do all this thing and buy him clothes. No, it's all in how you finesse his brain. You got to speak into a man and he will do anything for you. But you got to speak into him, not browbeat him.
Right.
Argue him down, not criticize him. What do you think will grow from a ton of nasty seeds? Narcissists, weak, you Negro, sorry, you ain't about SH, whatever. All those things are negative seeds. They don't fall in any soil. They don't spring up nothing. The only way to build a man up is positive seeds. You don't give him positive seeds, and all you give him is negative dispositions, negative words. Oh, I'm about to do me. All these things that don't instill any confidence in him regarding you. He will end up doing. He will be physically with you, but he'll unpack on another pillow. I promise you that's what'll happen. He'll be physically around you, but he'll be on the other pillow telling all his heart, because sometimes some strangers are not necessarily better than his provider, but guess what? They're in the right place at the right time because that person failed the moment. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what it is. And so we, believe it or not, we want to show up. I'm not saying we don't look like no fools, but we do want to show up for our woman. Well, yeah. But understand that we need sewing as our gasoline, as our fuel, as all of that, as the spinach, as Popeye would say. We need all of that to show up. You can't just make a man barren and think he's going to perform. He's going to faint. And then that's why this is why relationships end. And then 2 months later, the Negro gets married. You know why? Because the other lady found him in a comatose state, and she comes by and says, "You need some water." She waters him back to life. Water. And then the man gets up and he'll marry her like that because why? Sad truth is a lot of men marry in the moment, and they marry who is with them in that moment. So that's why it's important to have a safe exchange between one another, that each one of us feel like we're getting what we need. I think it's too much emphasis nowadays that we're being programmed to think the lady needs everything, and she does, but so does the man, or this thing will never balance out. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Dude, yeah, you was on fire here for a minute. You a daggone soapbox preaching like I don't know what. I see. So you said something that was interesting. And here's the thing. Here's what I'm coming up with. So there are some utilities that are optional. I mean, nowadays it didn't used to be like this, but back in the day, internet wasn't necessarily something that you needed. I mean, you need it now, but it was optional. There are some things that you do that are optional, like some streaming packages.
Oh, okay, all right.
But there are some things that are absolutely necessary in order for you to run your household. You have to have water. You have to have electricity in order to run your household. You have to have heat. You got to have HVAC in your household, right? Got to have central air. These are things that are necessary.
Yeah.
Some things are optional for houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like pools, that's an option.
Yeah.
And there's some things are necessary. I'm saying this to say this. You don't marry what you want. You marry what you need. Now, granted, that it should be what you want. They should be what you want. But the reality is I'm with the person I'm with because they are fulfilling and satisfying a need that I have.
Yeah.
And I think if most men are honest, you will admit you don't marry the wanted one. You want the stripper. Oh, yes, you do. You want the hooker. You want the side piece. But you don't marry the stripper and you don't marry the side piece. You marry the need, the one that I need in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that you have to take into consideration when you're thinking about the relationships that you're in. Because often we find ourselves with people who we want, but they're not actually who we actually need in our life. For whatever reasons, we're not willing to admit you're not necessarily somebody who I need because you're giving me all types of things that I don't really have a use for in my life.
Well, here's a slight pushback. It's a slight pushback. So you're spot on. We marry who we need, right?
We should.
And we should, but I'm just saying we should marry what we need.
We should.
But I think that whole narrative has been responsible for a lot of divorces.
Okay.
I'll tell you why? Okay. Because yes, we marry who we need, but let's think about the other person. You ever been with somebody or been at somebody's wedding, and then you'll hear them? One of the worst things a man would want to hear, whether it's true or not. You at the wedding in the reception, and they sitting up, what you gonna say, Delilah? And she talking about something. Y'all know what? Me and Spank been through thick and thin, and I'm glad we made it to this point. Because at first, I didn't see it, but he grew on me.
Oh,
What that means is aesthetically, you don't do it for me. But the sweet guy you are underneath it all is what I need. But see, what happens is with anything we do in life, when we get what we need, we become content. And when we become content, we begin to return to looking for what we want. So my point is, we have to find a balance. Like, get what you need. There is a such thing as what I need and what I want. I refuse to believe that I'll marry somebody that I'm just like, well, you know, you do got an 800 credit score. You want that house next year, and that's it. Okay, you got all these aesthetics in that department, but when I look at her and she's trying to be all, hey, let's go upstairs. I'm like, oh, I'll be up there in a minute because I don't want to go because upstairs feels like work because I'm not attracted to her. So you got to have that attraction and that affinity. The affinity is she has what I need. The attraction is but she definitely is what I want. You got to be able to have that balance because if not, this will turn into a world of just using people. I mean, do you know how many people out there that may feel they're not as attractive and they're going to lead with their purse? Well, I got a house, I have this, and I got all these things, and they're doing it because they don't have the looks. So I got to lead with the other stuff. Or if you just got the body or whatever that case is, you're going to lead with that. But what that leads you to is being used for just that. So that's why I'm saying we need to be honest with ourselves and say, am I marrying this person because I think that they're just a safe choice? Like I used to joke when I used to be on the other show, I used to joke about, we had these shows where we would joke about guys and getting the good guy finished last, and we would call it the local Steve. Local Steve was the guy that just shows up. And I've always been here for you. I've always had a crush on you. I've been working down at the power plant for 25 years. Nothing about him attracts her. He's ordinary and plain. Let's be honest. Not saying that he's not good for somebody, but for who he wants, she don't see him that way. But you see him as safe. He got money, and he can cover the deficit of the things that are lacking in her life. So she takes him. But then later on, that taking becomes, that's my husband. I feel kind of bad talking to you, but I mean, I just, you ever not been so attracted to somebody where you married them? I had somebody tell me that before.
Wow.
Straight up. Tell my son, but I feel kind of bad talk, but don't. You trying to talk to me. You got the husband, but you're not attracted to him. So you trying to get some outside influence and then go back home. So that's why I said we got to pick people that we're attracted to and respect and need. So you got to find the balance. Nobody said you got to go out here and go all the way to the top and she got to be the Miss Universe or Mr. whatever. But the point is, find someone that works for you, that can move you intimately as well as intellectually and spiritually, but not just one side, because one side going to get played out.
Okay. So let me just say this to push back on what you just said in my pushback.
Yeah, come on, push back. Go
ahead. So here's the thing, though, right? So the need and the want are not mutually exclusive. That's not what I said. I didn't say the need, the want, just the need and the want in my mind, in terms of my experience, have not been mutually exclusive. Now, here's the thing here's the issue that I take with a lot of us, is that we will abandon what we actually need in pursuit of what we actually want.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the reason why marriages divorce and don't stay together.
Yeah.
Because as much as I might have wanted you, I don't see that you're actually satisfying the need that I have. And that's the truth of the matter. If we're gonna sit here and we're gonna do this for real, let's do this for real. Let's have a real talk about the fact that often we are going after those things that are appealing to us. And they absolutely should appeal to you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna marry somebody who I'm not attracted to.
Yeah.
That should be part and parcel with what I need in my life. That should be a part of that thing. And understand this too, and I want to make it really, really clear, that you're not going to be able to automatically, instantaneously know that person that you're with is what you need and want. That takes time. That means I have to engage you, talk to you, actually spend time with you to get to know you so that I can assess in my own life and in my own mind whether or not if you are what I need and what I want. Again, need and want aren't mutually exclusive. As far as I'm concerned, they complement each other. Because when my needs are satisfied and my wants are fulfilled, then we have an entire picture now. We have a whole picture now. So I'm not just leaving out my wants for the sake of my needs, because then that makes me dry. That makes me arid. There's no juice in my life. It should be something that I also want. You know what I'm saying? So whoever I'm marrying should not only qualify to meet my needs, but also qualify to satisfy what I want as well. And I think often we don't have the discipline enough to say, you know what, you're not fulfilling everything that I have on my plate. So I'm going to have to look for somebody else, because we're willing to settle for a approach.
Wow. But see, the thing is this, if we're honest, again, the narrative in the world has, whenever we hear, ladies, you correct me if I'm wrong, whenever we hear the word, I'm so happy for y'all and y'all marriage. Thank you, girl. He was just what I needed. 9 times out of 10, that whole girlfriend base know that guy is not her usual type. I'm just saying he ain't normally the person she would talk to. That's why she say he's what I need. Because that when you say this person is what I need, it's almost selfish, because you don't know if you're who they need.
But you need to ask that question though. You need to ask and find out whether vice versa.
Yeah, so it can look one-sided, like, okay, you are who I need. And that person might be like, okay, I want to be needed, but let me make sure I need and want you too. You know what I'm saying? So it could be both-sided. But the point is, again, when you lead with the narrative of somebody needing somebody, everybody want to feel like they're important to their relationship, but they just don't want to feel like you are there because I'm your lifeline. People want to feel like you there because I'm your choice line, not lifeline. I want to just feel like your lifeline is good. I want to be loyal and be here and supportive, but I also want to know that you are here because you reached in your bag of discernment and said, you are who I choose because I love you. Not because, you know what, you safe for my life. I appreciate you. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to think about it from that side of it, because it's like a lot of people out here feel underappreciated because they are with people who need it, who they need it. And so when you need somebody, you're less inclined to offload into them because they're busy uploading into you. So that's why I said it has to be a balance. So you can feel inclined to then say, oh, she needs this from me today. I got it, baby. Don't worry. I'm taking off work and I'm going to sit with you all day. And not just like, did you do what I asked you to do? Because I needed that. You know what I be needing on Thursdays. You know what I mean? It needs to, both sides need to feel like each side is being concerned about one another. Always
they're not mutually exclusive. Needs and wants are not mutually exclusive, but you have to make a priority. You got to prioritize something. Oh, so here's the thing. Here we go real quick. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be quiet after this. Okay. So you thirsty, right?
Okay.
You thirsty. You go and you grab a soda to quench your thirst, right?
Okay.
And all you drink is soda. So after a while, you're going to become dehydrated. You know why? Because you're not drinking water. We don't want to admit this. I'm not saying this is an easy truth to accept, but the reality is you don't need the soda. What you need is the water.
Yeah.
Because the water will refresh you. The water will rehydrate you. Now you can add flavor to the water. You can put some sugar.
There you go. There you go.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to prioritize. And this is where we're messing up at. This is why we buy houses that we can't afford. This is why we buy cars that we shouldn't have. This is why we buy clothes that we shouldn't have, because we don't know how to prioritize what's actually important in our lives. We keep going after the things. Okay, I said I'm gonna go say that. I'm good.
Yeah, go ahead, No, listen. We as men, since again, we can't necessarily. So if we look at this fairly, we're talking about today's show, talking about the utility called her. But honestly, this is really on us.
It is.
We the customer. Yeah. And we have to be able to define the customer service we need. And each household in each relationship is different because each person needs something differently. Yeah. And so I think men need to stand up and start speaking to their provider about their customer service needs. Yeah. I need a little bit of this, babe. I need a little bit of that, or a little less of that. Oh, I need some. Do y'all have some more routers so that I can have more bandwidth because I'm growing out of my space? Right. Whatever that case is, you need to say it, because a lot of times we can dance around. We as men, we dance around what we want to say in fear of imploding our peace.
Yeah,
we are scared to say what's not working, what we like, what we don't like, because we know a lot of times the piece of our evening or day, our dinner may not go right. The weekend may not go right. Oh, she may not want to sleep in the room with you. She may tell you, she may be silent for her to walk around you for days not saying a word simply because you gave her a truth. So that's why I said we got to get to a point where we learn how to methodically speak our needs. Because I think we are dying daily because we're not honest with what's wrong with us, what's not working in our needs. And so what's happening is, instead of us moving forward and being more engaged, we are becoming stagnant and disconnected. So that's because we refuse to tap into the provider. The provider is there for the service. Right. So it's up to us to pay the bills and let them know what's not working by way of service. Because the key is we're supposed to be advanced the service before we pay the bill. So we got to know what we want so we can make sure each month we getting our service while they're getting their payment. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So for sure. All right. Yeah. Well, I tell you. Oh, whatever. Yeah. No, seriously, listen, man. This is good because it's like, I think if most of us approach it this way, ladies, I challenge y'all, start thinking to yourself. I know for years it has been me, do for me. I need to feel secure, good, safe. I want you to make me feel this way. All of these things. But you got to consider, in order for that man to do those things, he needs something to fuel him to want to do it. Because if not, I'm going to tell you when you know the person is out of gas, because everything they do becomes robotic. Yeah. Now you're dealing with a bot. You're not dealing with a human emotion no more. They're just like, yeah, here your soda, here your coffee. All right, then they out the room. And God forbid it's the intimacy. Yeah, okay. All right, take a shower, I'm going to work. It's no more personable stuff. It is all robotic. Yeah. So when a person is robotic with you, they lost the soul of the love. Yeah. So you got to be honest with yourself and say, am I getting a fair exchange of services here? Yeah. It's not just about one side. No. Both of us want to be happy, not just one person in a relationship. It's no way that person a woman could ever be legitimately happy if her man is honestly miserable. No legitimate happiness if there's honest misery. So we got to be a middle ground so we can get this to work. All right. Man. Okay. Well, we appreciate you guys. He over there still steaming, y'all. I'm sure he's going to cuss out this. No, we appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, where today we talked about the utility called Her. Are you active? Meaning is your hey men, do you got a little light on your shoulder that's green or is it red? That means you cut off and disconnected. We gotta know your status. Know your status so that we can have better exchanges with our utility providers. And on that note, we will see you guys next week if anything doesn't change. 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. As usual, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Yep. And there'll be probably more cursing on the next part. All right, bye.
The doors of the Love Church.
Yeah. So, call your provider and ask for more services. That's what you do. Yeah. Look. We can communicate today. We can call and schedule our own disconnection or move. You know how you call it? They say you're moving service or disconnecting service. Oh yeah. So if you want to stay with your person, you move it to get to a better place. Like you said, most people aren't mature enough to say, I'm at the place where I'm ready to disconnect service.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll go to another provider.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
So you know what's interesting? I actually had to look up the word utility just to kind of get an idea of what it actually meant. And utility means usefulness. So the question that I have...
It says what?
The utility means usefulness.
Ooh.
To be useful. So I guess we need to wonder about whether or not the services that we receive, whether or not they're useful. I'm not trying to start another show because we got to go. I got something else to do. But what I'm saying is, consider the usefulness of your service that you receive.
So let me get this right. You're saying the provider of her means usefulness.
If she is providing you a service, is it useful to you?
Oh, okay.
If he is providing you a service, is it useful to you? That's utility, right?
Wow.
That's what it means. That's all. That's what it's,
Wow. Utility.
Usefulness. Are you useful? Or are you being used? Or are you using? Anyway, we got to go.
Yeah. You tell, listen me. Utility. You tell, listen me. All right.
Oh my
you tell, I'm gonna listen me. All right. Anyway, communicate. That's the whole thing. Communicate.
Yes.
You can't say that enough. Communicate them services. Make sure people are listen. People every day switch providers. The number one reason people change phone carriers, internet carriers, whatever, is because of dissatisfaction of service.
Customer service survey. That's how you find out whether or not your customer is satisfied with the service that you provide for them.
Maybe we need to do like work, Adam. Let's create the relationship customer satisfaction surveys.
Hey, you know what?
You heard it first. Yeah,
right. That's how you get more customers to subscribe to your service.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Appreciate y'all. Until next time, we holler at y'all.
Peace, y'all.